Hello, everyone. I'm joined today, as you heard, by Mayor Chow and Councillor Matlow. This weekend, our officers responded to 3 shooting incidences. We are actively investigating all 3 incidences in an integrated manner while remaining mindful of any potential connections between them. We are leaving no stone unturned as we work to identify those responsible and bring them to justice. Today, I want to focus on the shooting that occurred at the Salsa on Clair Festival on Saturday night. Our investigators are still gathering information and reviewing evidence. Today, we're able to release the deceased names and advise that we believe they were targeted. We can also confirm that 2 firearms were recovered at the scene. We are urging anyone who may have captured images or footage or who has information that could assist the investigation to contact Toronto Police immediately. We're also putting out a QR code to assist with the uploading of images and video, as you see here. And members at 13 Division can be reached at 416-808-1300 for anybody who has information to call in. Shootings are down in the city, over 26% compared to the same time last year. But when a brazen shooting occurs in a public setting, like happened this weekend, it understandably shakes the sense of safety and security that Torontonians expect and deserve. Street festivals are a vital part of Toronto's vibrant culture. They will continue to receive police resources as we do everything we can to ensure the safety and security of attendees. The events of this weekend, however, underscore the need for ongoing discussions between the police, the city, and event organizers about the measures necessary to keep public events safe. Even before this past weekend, I had already spoken with the city manager to highlight the need for increased collaboration in strategic planning concerning how special events such as street festivals are permitted and managed. During FIFA, we all worked well together and successfully hosted 6 matches without major incident. There are valuable lessons learned from that experience that will help us improve even further going forward. There needs to be a discussion about how we allow people to enjoy street festivals freely with appropriate police presence and, if we need, to introduce additional security measures, such as controlled access points and security screening. The appropriate approach will be determined based on the specific circumstances, based on our intelligence and the threat environment, and these are all options we will be looking at. Which brings me to my next point. We need law reform to address gun violence and specifically shootings in public settings. In 2023, I wrote to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and last summer I wrote to the Minister of Public Safety and members of the 416 Liberal Caucus to call for legislative reform aimed at addressing shootings in congregate settings. What we are asking to consider is this. When someone is shot and killed in a congregate setting, whether it's a stray bullet or because someone started a fight and pulled a gun, such offenses should be classified as first-degree murder. This measure would act as a strong deterrent to perpetrators and recognize society's condemnation of such reckless, egregious crimes. We welcome the recent reforms introduced by the federal government, including the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, and we will continue to work collaboratively with all levels of government and our community partners to make our communities safer. Of course, we continue to need enough police officers to ensure visible presence in our communities and to be able to respond quickly. We all saw the videos of our police officers running toward danger and working in concert with our partners at Toronto Fire Services and Toronto Paramedic Services. Their actions reflect the courage and professionalism they bring to the job every single day. My job as chief is to make sure this service and our officers have the tools they need. In 2024, the Police Service Board and City Council approved our multi-year hiring plan. And what this past year has taught us is that this investment is necessary and needs to continue. I want to thank the Toronto Police Service Board, Mayor Chow, City Council, for their collaboration and continued support. And in closing, more broadly, events like this need to serve as a reckoning. The fact that individuals who use guns in a crowded public setting with no regard whatsoever for the safety of those around them is alarming. As police, we will continue to do everything we can to tackle gun violence, but everyone has a role to play. As I've said many times before, legislators, parents, schools, school boards, community organizations, and all other partners have an essential role to play in intervening and preventing gun violence in our city. Experience has also taught us that people know who is involved in illegal firearms in our communities. There are many ways to let us know where these illegal guns are, and we encourage people to prevent harm by calling police or Crime Stoppers. Your call can save a life, and it may save the life of someone you love. We all need to work together to make sure we never become complacent and do all we can to prevent gun violence. Thank you, and I'll now pass it over to Mayor Chow.
This weekend was a difficult one in Toronto. 3 different shootings across our city. And the violence at Salsa on St. Clair was reckless and disgusting. It happened at a crowded festival with families enjoying a beautiful summer night. As you've heard from the chief, the investigation is ongoing. And I have every confidence the Toronto Police will find those responsible, and they have my full support with whatever resources they need. I have also spoken to the Federal Public Safety Minister and urged him to work with his American counterpart to stem the flow of illegal American guns coming onto Toronto's streets. We will not let reckless criminals stop Toronto's tradition of outdoor street festivals. I will keep working with city staff and the chief to make sure festivals are safe. The pain caused by senseless gun violence is unimaginable. It ripples through the communities, casting a long shadow of fear and anger and sadness. But Toronto is resilient. For everyone who would do our communities harm, there are many more who look out for their neighbors. In difficult times, Toronto's spirit shines. Since Saturday, we've seen this in action. And I want to thank Torontonians for looking after each other as always. I also want to thank the brave police officers, the paramedics, the firefighters for their fast response this weekend. The chief is right. They run towards danger when we need them most. And I will always, always be grateful for their service to our city.
We'll take any questions you may have.
Chief, there was no mention of any suspects that were released there, and comments on where are we at with suspects?
Yeah, I think we're not saying anything about suspects at this time. It's very much still early, frankly, hours, and the amount of video and witness statements to go through is exceptional. So our investigators are diligently pouring through that and doing everything they can to run down every single lead, and that's an ongoing bit of work.
Targeted
they learned at this stage in the investigation that it was a targeted event.
People who work and have businesses on St. Clair West described hearing two separate incidents. There was one incident where people were running, and then a short time later, another incident. Can you speak to what might have been happening? Because it sounds like this may not have been one exchange of gunfire, but perhaps two separate incidents.
Yeah, at this point, we're not going to get into the specifics. We are still gathering witness statements, as you might imagine. So we're going to let the witnesses make sure they're able to tell us their recollection in the most pure way possible. But definitely very dynamic set of events, and the gunfire that took place was certainly involves a very large crime scene, as you know, with different areas of concentration for us to gather evidence at.
Is it gang related?
We're not commenting on that at this point.
Who's known to law enforcement?
We're not going to discuss anything about the victims other than to acknowledge that the two deceased knew each other.
You mentioned lawmakers, you mentioned school boards, you mentioned these other places that do have roles to play preventing gun violence. Is there anything that you look back at your forces and what happened on Saturday, Friday, and early Sunday, and think we could have done better?
Well, I think, listen, we're always open to the opportunity to learn as a collective, whether it's the police or the police in the city or the, with the organizers. So that's something that will happen at the appropriate time to examine how we do things. Even before this weekend, as I said, I wrote to the city, spoke to the city manager. We'll be writing to him, outlining some of our thoughts around how special events are done in the city, because there is an opportunity coming off of FIFA to learn different things and to make sure that we're doing the best we can as we prepare, for future summer seasons.
You said that those are any kind of additional measures, that additional events would be determined on a sort of case-by-case basis, but should we expect a stronger police and security presence at events like Caravana, for instance, other events that we have coming up?
That's a great question. I think I'd highlight for you that over the past several months, we have changed our posture at major events and at places of public gatherings and critical infrastructure. And that's everything from transit to sporting events to major events. You've seen our posture change over the past months in response to not only geopolitical events overseas, but how those events play out in our city. And we will adjust our posture as required based on the intelligence and information and the threat environment we're dealing with on a case-by-case basis.
You mentioned it during your remarks that shootings are down 26%. Statistically, crime is down quite dramatically in almost every category. But people are feeling unsafe when things like this happen. So how do you balance out your messaging by telling people that crime is down, but taking into account that people feel unsafe?
No, that's another really good point. And I'm always hesitant to talk about statistics. And I'm sure those of you who have been in this gallery many times have heard me speak with some trepidation around statistics. Because while they're important for us to share publicly, they do provide, information as to what the data shows. It really doesn't speak to the heart of the matters, which is how people feel. And it's very important for us to acknowledge that a weekend like this shakes our city. There's people who have lost loved ones. There are people who are injured in ways that are going to affect them for the rest of their lives. And at that moment, the statistics don't mean that much. What matters is how people feel and what we do to restore a sense of safety and security. So again, while we need to be factual and share the statistics when appropriate, we do need to be very mindful that sense of safety and security is very, very important, and it got shook this weekend because there is a very human toll all these events take. And those cases of shootings in public spaces, why we're asking for legal reform in that regard is when you have shootings in public spaces like we saw this weekend, that shakes the entire city. In fact, in this case, I will tell you, I think it's safe to say every major city was watching and, considers how they would handle these kinds of things because we know the impact it has on residents. And that really is something we got to be mindful of. And we need some reforms that address that and recognize that if you pull out a gun in a public space, in a public square, or the Eaton Center, or any other public gathering, and fire it indiscriminately, that should be treated with the utmost seriousness in the law. And if someone dies as a result of that, there should be no debate on what the motive was behind that shooting. That should be a pathway to first-degree murder in and of itself, and that's the reforms we are looking to see our federal government consider.
These two men involved in an exchange of gunfire. Were the two men, you said they were known to each other, were they shooting at one another?
I'm not going to be commenting on that specifics on that set of events in that way.
People that suffered gunshot
I'm not going to get into specifics. We did have other people injured that were bystanders.
Mayor Chow, you keep on mentioning illegal guns from the United States. What evidence do you have that this shooting, or any of the shootings that happened this weekend, involved illegal guns?
Well, the people, no, I'll take that question. In this city, we recover crime guns regularly, and the vast majority, 85 to 90% of them, when they can be traced, are traced to the United States of America. This city has a handgun crime problem. These are not licensed gun owners. We are not arresting people with firearms who are licensed gun owners. That is not happening in this city in any meaningful way. The people we arrest with firearms quite routinely, our officers interdict people with illegal guns, are criminals. They are criminals without firearms licenses, and the guns they have are illegal. The vast majority sourced to the United States of America. That's been the trend for many, many years in this city.
Mayor Chow, can I just ask you a question? The chief obviously talking about the review that he wants to have maybe going forward in the talks that he's already had with the city manager. What kind of review do you want to see when it comes to the approach to keeping street festivals safe? You mentioned the fact that they cast a long shadow when you have violent acts like this. How do you shine some light on it and reduce that impact?
Absolutely. Number one, we're still waiting for the investigation to conclude, to look at what is the origin, who did the shooting, and all of that, right? So I think it's important to wait for the investigation to finish. The City of Toronto will always work with the chief and the police and the festival organizers, plus our city staff, will come together and look at the best way to keep people safe in these big festivals. What we don't want to do is to say, to signal people not come to these street festivals, because they are part of the tradition of the City of Toronto. It's something that people look forward to in the summertime, and we need to keep people safe. Already, the City of Toronto, since the Vancouver Lapu-Lapu incidents where 11 people died, we added a new program that provides funding. But is there more we can do? How do we work together with the police? Can we have closer collaboration? As the chief has said, we have learned a great deal by collaborating through the FIFA World Cup viewing events. And on any one game, there's like 25,000 people watching the games, whether it's the Fan Fest, the Nathan Phillips Square, the Canada House, the Pride House. And we've learned a great deal by collaborating a joint command center. Are there some lessons coming out of that? Absolutely. And can we apply it to the festival? Let us work on that together.
Mary, that you mentioned about providing security funding for festivals, it only provided about $750,000, I believe, to dozens of festivals. Is what you provided already enough? Will you be looking to increase that?
I believe it's more than that, but we will review what is appropriate amount, and we created that in order to sustain the festival, in order to make sure they have the equipment so that cars cannot ram into the closed street. We are working together with the police to examine what other ways we can keep people safe. What I've done also is to create a group that are through the Toronto Association for Business Improvement Area, TABIA, to bring all the festival organizers together. They just had a meeting a few days ago before this tragic incident that they are looking at what are the best practices, how do they operate, and what can they learn from each other. We will, of course, work with them and, of course, to the police to look at ways to move forward in a way to keep everyone safe.
Chief, I just have a question in regards, again, to the St. Clair shooting. One of the victims were hearing reports that it was a local rapper out of Pelham Park. Can you confirm this at all?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be commenting on that.
Just in relation to that, Javon Washi, who was arrested for a 2025 murder 25-year-old female.
You said that of the 5 injured, there were some innocent bystanders, of the 5 injured. Are you saying that the deceased men were not innocent bystanders? Or can you speak to that?
I'm saying that they were targeted, and in the process, there was other people that were struck by gunfire.
How many were innocent bystanders?
Well, I'm actually not going to comment on that. I think what's important is we wanted to make sure public understood that that the deceased were targeted in this incident, and we did have other people obviously get hit by gunfire.
When you say targeted, were they targeted, did the people come to the festival looking for them, or did something develop after that?
Investigation, some of the further details.
There are going to be more security measures coming to these events. How do you balance the need to keep people safe at these events with the need to keep them open and accessible and kind of enjoyable to the public?
I think that's the discussion that actually needs to happen. Precisely, it's a complicated bit of work. Safety and security in our city is a shared responsibility that we all have a role to play in. In the case of special events and city festivals, there's the city, different divisions of the city, there's the local community, there's the organizers. So it's going to take a comprehensive table of stakeholders to come together and work on what that looks like over time. And on the issue of funding, again, we do talk about how the city is resourced, certainly as it relates to policing. I will say this is another opportunity for a conversation around the need for multi-level government funding for a city like ours. When you think about the complexities this city faces, you think about the economic engine this city represents, think about the tourism that this city drives and the critical infrastructure this city supports. There is a need for continued discussion on different levels of government coming together to make sure that these events that are so important to the culture of our city, but indeed important to us as a country, can continue safely, properly resourced.
If after balancing that and you decide, you and stakeholders decide we need more security, do the police have the infrastructure, the personnel, even the equipment to make it more secure and have those checkpoints?
That's a great point, which is why I did acknowledge the multi-year hiring plan, the first of its kind in my memory as a police officer, where the city, the board and the city council supported our ability to have some predictable hiring. The need for that investment to continue is more important than ever, frankly, going forward, so we can have the resources to meet the complexities of our city as it continues to grow. And that's the discussions that need to happen.
Right now, no, you don't have the capacity, the infrastructure.
I'm not saying no. I'm saying that's a discussion that needs to happen. Based on stakeholder feedback on how this would unfold, we'll be assessing that on a case-by-case.